Entrepreneurship is hard, so let's fix that and dive into our heroes' journeys. This is Taking Flight, an entrepreneur's journey, and I'm Sarah Torville. Join me as we delve deep into the passions, expertise, and experiences of those already in flight. This show is sponsored by EO Atlanta. Hello, everybody. I am so excited about today's guest. In fact, I cannot think of a better person to start our EO Atlanta Entrepreneurs Flight podcast, our very, very first show. They are co founder and managing partner of Trade Ideas, owner of Avid Vines LLC, president of EO Atlanta chapter, David Aferiat. Welcome, David.
Good morning, Sarah. How are you?
I'm really good. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's a delight to be here.
Good.
The first one.
The first one. And as our president leading our charge this year of the entrepreneur's journey, it just makes sense that you kick us off, David, with your leadership. So thank you.
Well, thank you. It's a privilege to have you on the board, and it's a privilege to be with you to talk a little bit about EO and the journey, our hero's journey. This year's theme.
Exactly. So we want to get into what your journey has looked like and see how people can take away knowledge and insight from your journey, David. So I'm going to really kick off this morning and ask you, like, what did you get right when you took your first flight into your entrepreneurial journey? What did you get right?
You know, I was privileged to start a business with two friends that I had known since college, and one was a fraternity brother. And in starting the company, I think one of the first things we got right was the division of labor. We all came to the business with what the business needed in terms of, so the business, Trade Ideas, is a fintech software subscription as a service company that helps people trade on the stock market, helps people make better decisions in the market. And when we started the company almost 20 years ago, we had this strong division of labor of who was doing what best, who was the best coder, who understood the vision of the product, of what it needed to do, and could describe those requirements. And then you needed someone basically in sales and business development. And we worked and continued to work very effectively together. I think the second thing that we got right was how we capitalized the firm, and how we didn't take outside venture capital. And that was out of some hard lessons learned from our previous journeys before we came together for Trade Ideas. But the lack of having or being able to bootstrap the company, and I myself went without a salary for about a year and a half, did in turn allow us the freedom to make mistakes where we wanted to on our own timetable.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, there's a lot of lessons there, I'm sure, around, being able to not feel controlled by anybody else, like you say, and make your own decisions too. But we'll get into that a little bit more. So I suppose your co-pilots, and I asked you who your co-pilots are on this journey. Are they the same people that you started Trade Ideas with, or have there been other co-pilots which have been kind of pivotal to your journey?
That's a great question. And, when we describe like a hero's journey, every hero needs a guide, right? Every Wonder Woman needs her Amazonian tribe. Every Rey in the Star Wars trilogy needs a Luke Skywalker as a mentor. And for me, I would say my first co-pilot is and was then my wife, Stephanie. And in fact, we made a kind of a pact where, look, I'm going to start this entrepreneurial, journey, and it's going to be one that fluctuates. As I said, I went a year and a half or so without a salary, and the success of the business is going to go, up and down, and hopefully more up than down. But like a stock, it's going to trade higher, it's going to trade lower, and we want higher lows, and if need be, we want higher highs, of course. Her position at the time, and she has spent a successful career as a employment lawyer, and her, that was a more stable environment.
Yes.
And we made that agreement, and so I'm forever indebted to her for being able to have, that ability to go out and create with a lot more uncertainty than her ability to create within a structure. And that's proven to be, a wonderful and rewarding union.
Yeah, and so important for starting a business. Like you say, there's some stability. It sounds like, from somebody earning very, having a good job, and then yourself being able to be the entrepreneur you want to be.
It's like a trading plan in
Yeah.
engaging markets. You have to have, what's your risk management plan? I mean,
Yeah.
as you have a business plan, but how are you going to mitigate the risks of everything? You want it to turn out according to your wildest assumptions, but what is what's the level of support underneath you that you want to keep raising
Yeah.
to make sure that this works, or the signposts to know that it's not going to work.
Mhm. I wouldn't mind just asking you, going back to your division of labor with the, the co-founders and the people you've worked with. How did you have that foresight early on did you have anyone come in and help you figure out who was the best at what, or did you just feel naturally you knew your roles?
It did. We're all extreme and it was very, very apparent. Like, my one partner is very introverted, almost a little painfully introverted. So just naturally, and he just a genius with his experience came from actually defense companies and building targeting systems, and that knowledge. He was like, these systems that I'm coding and building are defensive systems, and sometimes they're offensive systems, and I think I'd like to just focus what I know and then his genius on the stock market. And to this day, he's been able to help us with and the teams under him, how to architecture and a massive amount of, computing that we have to do in order to come up with our strategies and optimize what market patterns are the most rewarding ones in ascendance and which ones are falling off as the market continually evolves. My other partner is very much kind of visionary and the one who had traded the longest among the three of us. So he came
Right.
to the market like, look, I've got the years, in the markets and know what the product should do. And, I love to entertain and I love to, I empathize and communicate very well. It's one of the strengths I bring. And
Yeah.
maybe with a side of woo factor. And, I'm very effective at like listening to people and being able to and to communicate, and
Yeah.
it paid off in how about a year and a half or so into trade ideas that we landed a major partner, an online retail broker who at the time was named Scott Trade, and that followed up with 18 months later a partnership with E-Trade, and
Right.
those partnerships and those contracts landed or lasted 10 years each. On an annual contract renewal, the terms were always like we renew every year and we determine, is this worth, still providing to our customers? And
Mhm.
each year that proved to be the case.
That's great. Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So, what is a challenge you and your team had to solve recently?
Challenge we have to solve recently. Well, a team of trade ideas is very focused on growth, but we're very focused on the underbelly sometimes of growth is how, I mean, we want to be acquiring new customers, new subscribers to our tool. And we've really shifted the revenue of how it's come into the firm. It used to be very dependent on these large partnerships with these major, corporations. And that proved to be, in terms of risk management, a very risky position to be in, to have all your revenue concentrated in just a few customers. It has all your focus, but it's, in terms of
All the eggs in one basket, so to speak.
exactly. So,
Yeah.
and we used to treat individual subscribers kind of like a laboratory. Like we'll create and fix, with them, and then we'll really do all this to serve the huge number of customers that we have with these larger firms. And we've since changed that equation all completely around. We derive the majority of our revenues from individual subscribers, and very, very little, with almost a need to kind of bring back the revenues that we had from larger partnerships. But the challenge that we have is sometimes keeping individuals in both subscribing to trade ideas. So we have a natural amount of churn that we experience, and we want to always try to minimize that. And we have a product strategy that guides us, and we do better jobs during the course of trade ideas at executing on that, and sometimes we don't. But that strategy is pretty much the same, and I can share it. It's very easy to say, it's hard to do, but we try to we have this we try to deliver the maximum value on the first impression with our technology. You have one chance to really, on the first impression, deliver the most value about what you do and how you can help, and you get that one chance to do it. So on that first impression, you've got to be able to show very quickly, this is how this can help you.
Right.
And it's a moving target. It's never a destination. It is a journey. You always have to be thinking about, okay, well, what customers are coming to us that we can satisfy with the first view? And do we need to segment what that first view of the technology is, depending on if they're an options trader, if they're an equities trader, if they're a active trader, the trade within the hour, or they hold positions for longer.
Right. No, it's interesting you should say that. I'm just going to give you something I saw yesterday. I was looking up a prospect who wants to talk to me this week. And I noticed that this is the first time I've ever seen this, where I went to their website and they tailored their website to speak to me. So they actually said that they're a risk management company for communications and PR agencies. And then as I went down on the page, it said, we can solve all your solutions, Media Frenzy Global. And I have never seen that on a website before.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I don't know if I liked it.
Right. Right.
Because I don't feel like they really knew anything about me. And I know you're not saying you're doing that, but you're not changing, but you're making sure, like you say, their first impressions speak to their pain points. I think what you're saying.
That's it. Speaking the pain points. And if I can know that, that this firm or that trade ideas has identified me, not personally, but put me into a kind of hinted at this may be you and we can help, then I feel comfortable, walking into the tent, and saying, okay,
Yeah.
I want to see more.
Yeah. And how has that been going for you since you've made that change?
It isn't binary. It isn't one and done. And now we see
Right.
it's like, as I said, it's a very
Constant.
yeah, because we're trying to understand where, and I call it like a leaky boat. We want to fill the boat, the
Right.
holes in this boat, and some initiatives, work and others don't. And we try several different approaches. I think one based on price, that we've tried recently hasn't really worked for us. I mean, it does, but in the long term, I don't know if it's going to help. If you train your customers on promotions or so forth to know, when you're putting your subscription on sale, and then we might see people downgrading in order to take advantage of the sale, and then
Right.
stay with us. That can help. That can lock them in for longer periods of time with us as a subscriber.
Mhm.
But I want to be, we generally want to be focused on the value that we're providing, not the benefits and the use of the tool, not just
Yeah.
focus on price all the time.
No, I agree with you 100%. So for people, I mean, I think this is a challenge, what you're explaining, that many businesses have gone through when you realize, and I went through this myself as well. You have your eggs in one basket, and then that basket breaks or starts to leak, and you realize that this is not sustainable and you've got to change things up. But what is the piece of advice you might offer others who are facing this challenge right now?
Data. Make decisions based on data. And you start anecdotally with what you think is right, but we have some wonderful people on our team that that dive further into data and can pull out insights where you're confirming sometimes what those hypotheses are, but but also leads you to a better decision. Sometimes it just comes out completely different, where wow, we need to pay attention to this, or if we're going to succeed, and we risk a lot if we don't listen to this data.
Right.
So find out where, what data and what information you're creating, and use it.
So, but data on what do you think? Like, what is helping you to determine that taking a change is will allow you to be successful? I'm wondering, like, because I suppose that your business is a a desktop solution, so you can see the data coming through, through your Google Analytics, etc. Okay. Okay, so you're looking at that and determining what are you looking at when you're looking at that data?
Well, like for instance, when we look at the result of promotion, we're
Right.
trying to understand, okay, the people that came to us, were they purchasing our premium product, or were they purchasing our standard product
Right.
and subscription? Do were they with us before, or are these new customers? The markets kind of keep evolving, and some we have a lot of customers. A natural amount of churn comes from people who engage in the market, use our service to do so. The market changes on them, not that they suffer a loss or they're harmed in some way, but they satisfy their urges in the market, and they back away. And when they back away, they may cancel our subscription, but they come back. We want to try to, with our promotions, be constantly reaching new subscribers.
Right.
So, for instance, in evaluating an affiliate, when evaluating, one of our strategies is to help amplify and find affiliates that are also reaching new segments and new customers by partnering with them and making them affiliates.
Yeah.
When they do a promotion, we want to see, well, how, in terms of reach, are they reaching? Is any part of the promotion that they're sending to their customers, existing customers or old previous customers of Trade Ideas? Affiliate A may do this and only have like 10% overlap, and say, okay, that's actually pretty good. 90% of the people that they're reaching are new and have never seen Trade Ideas before.
Right.
So we want to further accent what they're doing and promote what they're doing with content.
Yeah.
They then turn around and promote to their audience.
Right.
Affiliate comes back with a promotion and it's like 70% of people who we've seen before. That's not as valuable.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing that. So is there a book which is giving you this wisdom? Is there a favorite book, David, you have? Like, where is this? I know you're trying things, and I love that. This is great. What's great about being an entrepreneur, isn't it? You can try things, but at the same time, we need things to work. We're working in a fast-paced environment. So yeah, you look like a book lover. So tell me, is there one book on that particular solution of how do you diversify and spread your risk? Do you think there's a book which helped you to figure that out?
It's a fast life. Things move fast, and I have a wonderful book shelf of books, and I think I've read maybe 2 chapters in each book before I have to correct it.
I'm glad you told me that. I feel so much better.
Oh, please. I mean, it's hard. But so the way, I do love to read, and I get the learning. It's about to pour out of me here, but I mean,
go on, say it, please.
I've banged my head against the wall way too many times, to say that, oh, I read and then I have this insight.
Oh yeah, doesn't work that.
Yeah, it's just not that pretty.
No.
I will say that that's what my participation in EO and the board that I have this year as president, and just the members and the experiences and the events that we attend. I am, books or not, I'm committed to being a lifelong learner. It's be the way that I refresh and invigorate and re-engage, in life, is to keep learning. And there have been moments in my life where, after my undergrad years, I had the privilege of working for a large company, Kraft Foods, General Foods at the time, Kraft Foods, and they paid for a large portion of my continuing studies for my MBA. Finished my MBA and transitioned to another career in consulting. And all of that was an experience where my mind was being exposed to new models and new ideas, which was great. And being a consultant also was, application of all that learning in real time. And then moving to Trade Ideas. But even after Trade Ideas, after about 9 years or so at Trade Ideas, it was evident to me that I was doing the same things, but not changing, not seeing any results that were changing.
Yeah.
And I joined EO for this exposure to mentors and guides, if you will, based upon really the change in behavior I noticed in 2 people very close to me, a good friend and a cousin of mine who lives in South Florida.
Right.
And that change, in them that I saw prompted me to understand more about EO and how being exposed to leaders like yourself and ideas in fantastic places could spark all of this learning, and say, if it worked for them, and if I hear the stories that they're telling me, how can I apply them?
Yeah, that's really great insight. Yeah, I love that. And I love the fact, thank you for sharing that our ideas aren't just kind of coming from pretty places. You're right. And I think you shared some real reality there about we are knocking our head against a brick wall many, many times. And so the ideas are coming from everywhere. and then you're about to, so yeah, I appreciate you sharing that because it's not easy, as we know, but like EO has definitely been a place for you. And it's a place for me too. I feel exactly the same as you.
And,
Um,
and, and sometimes it's not necessarily the book smarts, or the business decisions. I would say EO is 66% of my own emotional intelligence in
yeah,
reacting to, success, as well as reacting to, debilitating, not failures, but
yeah.
you know,
Challenges.
challenges and hard truths and so forth. And I'm just
Yeah,
able to, um, it fits within my ability to react to that and keep moving.
yeah, that's really, really good. So what excites you about the future, David? Where are you heading?
Uh, what excites me about the future? I see for the company great things because I see we have a fantastic team and an amazing pipeline. Um, we always kind of look at our business and say, are we the best custodians? Are we the best stewards of this business? And um, if we couldn't answer that question positively, we would be looking to see, okay, well, who else can do a better job with this technology? But we still remain, very much the best at what we're doing and very innovative. And so the pipeline kind of invigorates me as to what's coming that we can, that I can talk about and that I can show both individual subscribers and our potential partners, existing and potential partners, um, this technology to help people make better decisions.
Hmm.
Um, and then, but tied with that is just this wonderful. I'm blessed to have a wonderful family that supports and that helps this journey for sure. And as part of that help, they are themselves starting their own journey. I have two wonderful children, two girls, one who's 18 and one who's 15, and my 18-year-old has started her journey in college, and that's a very rewarding experience to both see her go through and participate when we can with the occasional phone call. um, and, uh, and so it's her absence from the normal routine, which is our household, has kind of obviously brought focus on the one that's remaining, but
Yeah,
in a way that's very much out of appreciation for the moments we do have.
yeah,
And and when we're together, all four of us, on certain parts and times of the year,
yeah,
certainly brings out an appreciation for me because I've changed.
yeah,
And I hopefully, I think for the better, but I know for the better because I look at like how I behaved when we were all together. And sometimes I was, call it parenting, call it,
yeah,
I'm a lot softer now.
yeah. I think my husband would say the same. I think age softens us a little bit as well. And appreciation, like you say, these our children are getting older and you kind of want to appreciate those moments.
I mean, there's a shift, right? And you have
Yeah,
to appreciate the shift that they go through where
yeah,
they literally, hold the wheel and
yeah,
now you're the passenger. And,
yeah.
for all their lives, you were behind the wheel. And I mean that metaphorically in the sense of like you set the agenda for the day.
Everything.
That, you knew where you were going, you knew the plan.
Mhm.
It just depends on how frustrated your children became before they asked, like, well, what's the plan? What are we doing? Are you throwing me into the car seat, or we have to go someplace because I can't drive? And can you tell me where we're going? And you realize it's the same way with business. You have to be able to tell the team, like, look, this is the vision I have. This is
Yeah,
the plan. This is what we're going to do. Are we all on board? Let's do this. And then it becomes the case where your child grows and starts driving the wheel. And then you have to understand, well, okay, where are we going?
yeah, exactly. Now we're asking them questions, literally. So who are you, David? Take me back in time, like your pre-flight. Just give me some of those most important moments on your journey.
Pre-flight like that. My pre-flight, we start to talk about identity a little bit, but mine was, I'm a dual citizen, a French American, I should say. I was born here in the U.S., but I am French and hold a citizenship through my father,
Mhm.
and that was a large. His family was a very large part of my upbringing. Um, our family reunions were large, and they were just delights. It was always around food, and it was always around um, laughter and stories. A lot of it in French, and I had cousins growing up whose both parents were French citizens, and they were fluent in French in the house. My mother is American, and it's harder for, we all know the mother tongue is the one that really
Yeah.
passes along the language capability.
Yeah.
So I just remember being very jealous of my cousins and thinking they have access to my great grandparents,
Right.
and it can relate to them in a way that I couldn't. And my love for them was like, I want to be able to communicate in the same way that they could.
Yeah.
And so it launched me on an appreciation both for the culture and both for the language that has resided with me. And maybe that I just made that connection about my wanting to communicate with those I loved really helped
Yeah.
me focus on how I communicate myself,
Mhm.
and wanted to communicate in another language. And obviously learning another language for me is unlocked certain parts of my brain that and for the culture and for the capability of speaking that's
Yeah.
helped me for sure, for
Yeah.
sure.
That's wonderful.
And it led to more decisions like studying abroad for an entire year, as even opposed to a semester,
Yeah.
reconnecting with that family.
Yeah.
When I say that family, my story is a little bit of part of my father's, obviously, and he was born in a colony of France, which was French territory at the time in what is now Algeria.
Right.
But they fought for their independence, and they were bombing and fighting for that independence by killing the colonists and creating revolution. And so my grandfather made a decision. Most of the family immigrated to southern France, and my grandfather made a decision to follow his brother to America when my father was fairly young, in his teens. And it took about 25 years before he reunited with that lost part of the family.
Oh,
And I think I joined like the year afterwards and spent my
right.
summers afterwards there. So it was
You're
that's a
giving me
big
you're
part.
giving me goosebumps here. You really are. It's so nice to learn your roots. I didn't know that about the Algerian side of your family, and I love the fact your desire to communicate and that need to want to learn their language so you can have that love and connection with your grandparents is amazing.
And
Yeah.
great grandparents. I mean,
Great.
I'm
Yeah.
privileged. I knew them, and I knew them for quite some time,
Yeah.
and obviously my grandparents as well.
Yeah. That's wonderful. And so you came, so you were born here, you studied here, and you mentioned earlier you got an MBA, which is excellent. And you've worked at some great corporate companies as well. So you really built, I suppose you built your foundation of learning a lot from these large corporate companies. Do you believe that was a great place to start for you? You mentioned craft and
Yeah, for me, it was, it was extremely helpful to understand the system. I mean,
yeah,
I'm always
I
one who
agree.
wants to understand, like, okay, what's the way it's supposed to be done,
Yeah,
and then what are the areas where it could be improved. And that's a colloquialism for saying improve, to say, okay, if I go outside of the system,
yeah,
are the consequences dire, or are, by going outside the system, am I actually changing it and trying to improve it?
yeah,
Um, and so I'm always wanting to look at a system and say, okay, well, where are the holes here?
yeah,
And because does it make sense? Does it not? And can I show somebody that, look, I'm doing this a different way?
yeah,
And um, y- you know, that helped, and it hurts sometimes. Like, I created a system while I was working for Kraft, that this was, when Excel macros were a thing.
right.
And it was a system for communicating results out in the field back to a central regional office. And it was a great idea. And in fact, small regret, if it had worked, it would have been a fantastic business idea. But I was very much, in this structure, and I was promoting this communication and Excel macro workbook. And I remember one particular executive was like, "Well, this idea will never work. It's too complicated." And I said something like, I was pretty young. I said something like, um, "We'll make this idiot proof." And he was like, and I meant it in the way of like, we'll
Yeah,
solve all this, and this is part of the evolution of the product. But he came away like, this young guy just called me an idiot.
yeah. It's not what you meant.
Not what I meant, but it was like let's move, let's keep this going.
Yeah,
Don't
exactly.
worry, we'll
Yeah,
make the interface more
yeah,
idiot proof.
yeah,
And so uh, it started a kind of like, well, this the structure and the way
Yeah,
it works, what wasn't for me. But a lot of a lot of the base learning, a lot of the the base
I
ways
agree.
were
You know
right.
what, you articulated that extremely well because I haven't ever thought about it. You're right. The large corporates give you that structure and reality of how things can be successful within the four walls of something. But like you say, what are those areas of weakness? And as entrepreneurs, we're able to exploit those areas of weakness, aren't we? And
Yeah,
grow businesses from it. So
ideally.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Ideally, that's what we're trying to do. So that was explained well. Thank you for that. Wow. Okay. So tell me, what problem do you think you solve right now? What impact do you think you have made because of trade ideas?
Uh, I mean, I know that people use our tool, and it takes a certain kind of person, who wants to use our tool to take advantage of the markets and the U.S. exchange. The U.S. markets are well regulated. They have their issues, but they're relative to other countries in the world. They're extremely liquid, and they are well run. But again, I will say that within certain limits, there are people who spend their entire waking hours and years gaming the system, or at the ends. But for a large part, it is a functioning market. And the U.S. markets are one of these things where if you have an idea, you take capital, you can put it into the market and test that idea. And it's the only place that's very liquid enough to pull that capital back out.
Right.
If I buy a new home and I put capital and money into that home, I mean, it may take a year for me to
Yeah.
do renovations. It may even take, if I don't do anything with it, it's still going to take some time for the market to appreciate,
Yeah.
and or not. But and if it doesn't work out, then pulling money and selling the home can also be a very lengthy process. So
Mhm.
take another example. If I put money into a business and I create a company and capitalize it, I may not see the results of the success of that, a multiple of that, for 4 years, 5, 9, 20. Um, but the markets are this very liquid, environment where that money can be inserted into the market with a hypothesis, with a plan, with a risk management plan, and then pulled out, immediately, within minutes, within hours, within days. So the impact I know that we have is there are people that understand this and want to engage in the market for that reason, but want to do so with as much of a level playing field as we can give them. That if they are not capitalized hedge funds with teams of people and analysts making these decisions, we provide essentially the value proposition we provide is to, yes, we want to make better decisions in the markets, but we're showing you data of what is happening before others can see it, and in places where no one else is looking in the market,
Hmm.
relatively speaking. And so
Okay.
they're able to identify with our help, and then apply a risk management plan, and talking to customers and helping them in support, and listening to their stories. Plus, we used to run before COVID these trade idea summits where people would come to Southern California, where my other two partners are, and who wouldn't want to come to Southern California for a conference. And we'd pull people out of the summit and put them in front of a camera and kind of like, tell us your story. What's your, what's your reason for trading, and even, using trade ideas. And the stories are just gems. There was one, for instance, a Florida photographer who had peak season around wedding seasons, but then a lull, in between that, and he would use trading to supplement his income.
Right.
And there was another young man who used the proceeds from trading to his dream was to start a soccer academy for inner city underprivileged, youths. And I was like, wow, you're on a mission. It's like, yeah, well, and when I'm not working on that, I engage in the markets and
Mhm.
trade and use your tool to help me, point out where I can be,
Mhm.
and take advantage of. Sometimes small is beautiful, and that's what we
Yeah.
appeal to
Yeah.
our
That's
subscribers,
great.
being small and making these, transactions in the market.
Those are great stories. Those are life-changing stories for people. So I hope you market that well.
We try.
You know me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So okay, that's really great. Thank you. So um okay, the question I think as entrepreneurs we ask ourselves internally, but I'm going to ask you externally. If you were to do this all again, would you do it all over again?
There's some things obviously I would change, but would I, for the fundamental reasons that, this is like a rocket ship, and would I have grabbed it? Yes, definitely.
Right.
Um, my partners are they're wonderful people that in many ways I still learn from them, and hopefully, they've learned to we well moderate, our behaviors, from reacting to each other and learning from each other.
Mhm.
Um, so plus it was a very trusting environment, to join. And, now that there's some of the relationships I have that are my longest that, even predate my wife and
Yeah.
family, of course.
Yeah.
So, that they're for what it's for the direction that it's pointed me in, I yeah, I wouldn't change it.
Good. Fantastic. Good. That
Well,
was your answer, and I love it. You said it.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd have more
It
lines
seems
under my
so.
eyes and more gray hair if, there would just be like, I call baloney on that.
Okay. I'm curious to know, because I don't know the answer to this. What kind of things do you do for fun, David? What do you like doing when you're not working on trade ideas?
Um, I mean, again, I'm very blessed. I have a very rich and rewarding, life thanks to my family. But even outside the family, um, my parents live in another state. My sister lives also in another state, and when you do that, you wind up investing more time in relationships and in friends who
Yeah.
wind up, becoming like family. And we love travel. And recently, with some of these other family friend or friends that are now family,
Mhm.
who with whom we've raised our children together and are now also experiencing off to college,
Yeah.
and semi-empty or completely empty nesters. We all took a trip to southern France and northern Spain on the Atlantic coast, and it was a backroads trip, and it was an amazing experience. And the whole time I just kept pinching myself, like I'm doing this with these people,
Yeah.
that we've known for so long, and we're all able to do this, together. And I got to share, the parts of me that they all know, in terms of French and the
Yeah.
culture. But doing it was an exploration for me, in some ways. Like I had not been to all the areas that we were going to, and it was, but it was around, I mean, things I love, right? So food and people, and food and friends, and great wine. And so it was fantastic. But if you're, so travel is a big component. We're always, quick aside, I'm so excited sometimes about where, and with EO, I have traveled to amazing places
Yeah.
where I have more ideas to go. My wife has learned the concept of yes and. So if I come back and like, oh, we have to go to, we
Yeah.
have to go to Iceland. She's like, yes, and let's just
And
put it on the list.
yeah.
She used to say no, like, are you crazy? We can't,
Yeah.
the schools and the
Yeah.
schedules and everything. So now she's just like, we put it on a list, and then we put a date on it, and it gets filed away. I calm down. It's like, okay, that idea is out of my
Yeah.
system. It's on.
Yeah.
Sure enough, we look back and we've gone through and hit most of those, places that we've at least scheduled, and we still have some, remaining. But
Yeah. That's wonderful.
outside of that, it's also a bit of exercise. Keeping in shape is a tonic for me. And so
Yeah.
doing yoga, doing Peloton,
Yeah.
doing some high intensity interval training workouts, and even Pilates are
Yeah.
part of my, regiment to stay active.
Yeah. That's really, really good. So David, where can people connect with you? What's the best place? How can they reach out to you if they want to get in touch?
Sure. So one is, you can follow us socially. You can follow Trade Ideas or you can visit trade-ideas.com,
Mhm.
and you can get if you give us your email, we give you this Monday, kind of report. It's the idea of the week, and it's fully, with a risk management plan on how to approach the market through this one idea that we provide. That's the function of both the machine learning optimizations that we do, as well as, our own kind of traders and data scientists who say, of this list, this one brand, choose this one. Um, and that's at trade-ideas.com, and socially, trade ideas, on Instagram.
Yeah.
And that's probably the best way.
Okay.
Um, Another way that I've hinted at before is, if you like champagne, I also import organic champagne into the country, because it's because it's organic, and because of the way we ship it under a chilled container. There are no headaches with this champagne, and
Mm.
but it's more it's more of a project than it is a
Okay.
full-fledged business, but it's good stuff. And you can find that at avid_vines on socially
Okay,
or
great.
avidvine.
I need to look at that myself. Okay. Well, thank you, David. I have
Thank you,
learned.
Sarah.
You're welcome. I have learned a lot from you. I like how you shared the importance of mitigating risk, around really thinking about your business strategy and making sure that all your eggs aren't in one basket. I think that's really, really important. And also about the fact that the importance of people. You've really aligned yourself with people who know their role within the company, or even like the people behind you supporting you. And that has really enabled you to take the steps that you've taken and achieve a lot of growth. And I know there's a lot more growth to come, but the importance of those people, but those divisions of labor, I think was a really interesting point as well. So, yeah, so thank you to our listeners and our viewers. If you learned something today, or you laughed, or you found something great, please tell someone else about this podcast. We really appreciate that. We're really looking to build a great community of entrepreneurs who are seeking knowledge and curiosity, just like we all are. So once again, thank you, David. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sarah. The time was a pleasure to spend with you.
Right. Very good. So this has been another exciting episode. Well, actually, it's been our first episode. What am I talking about? This is our first episode of EO Atlanta's Taking Flight, and I look forward to seeing you next time. And so that wraps up another episode. Thank you for joining. For show notes and other episodes, visit us at takingflight.live. For more information about EO Atlanta, visit eoatlanta.org. Special thanks to the following sponsors: